Am I audible,
Yes,
Shomika,
you
to you?
are.
All right. Thank you very much, and good afternoon to you all. I will have a few slides shared for the purpose of the webinar, and just give me one more minute. Shomika, just a quick check. Is the screen visible to you okay?
Yes, absolutely. You can just continue.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So um, a quick introduction of myself, extending to what Shomika just echoed. I am part of the management consulting group at KPMG, and I lead the e-commerce practice, and I specialize in digital technology and platform architecture as my core competency. Today's topic is quite close to my profession and to the kind of engagements that we have been doing in recent past. So I have a few fantastic experiences and point of view to share with you all. Hoping you would find them insightful, and look forward to the question answer session towards the end. Marketing is a topic which is, or rather as a function itself, is at the forefront of whatever is happening in the industry, especially when we talk about a lot of digital these days, since over a decade now, quite promising over the past couple of years or a few years. The engagement with the customer happens by the marketing team. Many organizations have other functions also communicating with the customer throughout their business, throughout their relationship. However, marketing has the de facto responsibility to make sure that the positioning of the brand is in a way healthy that fetches business to the organization. A lot has been happening in terms of how organizations are approaching marketing, and various ways of using technology around social media, integrating it with some of the monolithic systems of ERP and streamlining customer experience. What I wanted to share is the changing landscape is so profound that the numbers, and some of you who are close to marketing or who are at the CXO community level would have seen these changes happening to you over a period of time. Now, just focusing on these are some of the numbers to set the grounds and sort of have as a foundation for the conversation we will have over the next 40-45 minutes. It is already mainstream. The digital marketing is no longer an option, or let's say an either or situation. Most organizations, close to 98% now, they confirm that they have a very professional way of, so I emphasize on the word professional. It is not we have someone monitoring the Twitter handle or Facebook handle, or we respond to our customers on Twitter. That is not the level of maturity marketing function is operating at when it comes to digital marketing. They have very serious attention to this function. And 11% of the digital marketing budget is going into digital commerce. So we are touching few key words here. One is the digital marketing itself, and what is more important for any business is the commerce, is the revenue that comes in to the organization. Now, everything and anything that is done by an organization will have an anticipation of increased revenue, either by a cross-sell or upsell. How does digital marketing or marketing as a function is positioned to answer that and to perform effectively in that landscape is something that we want to sort of have a round of discussion around. The focus on this function has increased. By the way, these numbers are just to make sure that we understand that the return or the response from the consumers has already started showing the benefits. Digital marketing, like any other new technology, always has certain apprehension from the organizations, whether we should invest, whether what is in it for us to do. But the confirmation or the confidence by pumping in more strategic money to this function reaffirms that stance. that marketing budget, if you were to put a number, then you can see on the screen that over a period of 1 year, it has increased tremendously in the count of millions of orders. Now, there are a few questions attached to when it comes to marketing spend and marketing investment. And in the later part of the discussion, we would touch upon how to measure it, how to make sure that whatever is being invested in marketing function sees the right value, sees at least some of those meaningful metrics, what those metrics should be for an organization when they scout for more funding in this function. And there are a few gray areas. However, more than gray areas, there are more transparent areas which are getting benefited if the function is given due attention. And we would try and discuss all of the key focus areas. While we cannot touch upon comprehensively, we will have some of those listed as we move along. So what is the agenda? Are we going to talk about digital marketing? Well, the answer is no, because the assumption is that we already know what the digital marketing is. So we are not going to define what digital marketing is or what are the key components, elements, and frameworks of digital marketing. At the same time, are we going to talk about digital commerce or e-commerce in Indian market, of how some of the big players are benefiting some of during the promotions and campaigns that are being run? The answer to that is no as well. Our key focus is going to be about the impact digital marketing has on e-commerce. And what I mean by that is we are going to touch upon the very sensitive area of investment and the returns of it. Because while the both ends, making a marketing investment and looking at the realization or benefits of the commerce coming in, the both two ends need an engine of effectiveness, need an engine of exponential growth and sustainability when it comes to setting up and scaling marketing functions. So we would focus on that part of the whole journey. So when we say a lot of things are impacted, what are those things? If we were to draw, like I said, from one end, when we start a marketing campaign or a function which has the core focus as to reach out to the customer, existing, new, lost, whatever that segment is, and on the other hand generate revenue, what are the things which have changed in recent past? And you all would have experienced this, would have accepted that that has happened. So the behavior of the consumer has changed, and we cannot control consumers' behavior beyond a certain degree, because there is a lot of leverage they have, when I say they, the consumer have, on the technology access, because of the way they are able to access information, content, options, variety, and services. There are different service levels that customers can accept these days, and that is changing the whole behavior. And when we say Gen Z, Gen Y, those customers really think different when it comes to making a transaction online. It is no longer the same way of operating and working with the brand or companies or organization. It has fundamentally changed. In our recent experience, I would quote some of the example of KPMG's experience working with not only startups but some of the conglomerates and brick and mortar companies, of how they are forced to change the way they do business with customers because the customers have changed. Who decides the terms of business? It's the customers. Products and services have changed. They've evolved many-fold. Even if at the core the product remains the same, the packaging of the product, it's not the physical packaging. The packaging, as in the core value of the product, is perceived by a customer and available to customer in a digital form. So for example, buying an insurance or booking a ride or buying a home, some of the real estate companies are coming up with flash sale where we can book a home at the best possible price point. And it is so transparent that walking into the office doesn't make any difference to booking a home online during that flash sale. This might at this point in time sound a lot more future looking and futuristic, but days are not far when this actually becomes a practice and multiple transaction in that industry happens via this medium. So the products and services have to be changed to suit the customer behavior and to suit the channels on which customers would like to interact with you on the customer's terms. And putting these two things together, we arrive at another very interesting point of funnel. All the organizations where we have a marketing function, a sales function, what we track is a funnel, is a sales funnel or a marketing funnel. But that has totally changed. It has impacted, and in many ways, some of the conversations that the C-suite people have with their sort of one level down in an organization, which are some of the difficult conversation to ask and answer around sales funnel, is because the sales funnel concept is changed. It doesn't work the way it used to work a few years back. So we'll deep dive onto these aspects, mainly into the funnel. What it also leads to is, while the external factors are changing, when you say external factors, the consumer behavior, the communication channel, the expectations, it cannot only remain external. There has to be an internal change that needs to support or underpin that expectation. And that has done a number of changes to the way marketing function works. What I mean by that is the organization structure of the marketing department has changed. It is no longer the same racy responsibility, accountability, consultativeness, and information. All those four areas for a marketing department has changed. The KPIs of marketing department to measure the success or failure has changed. And finally, the tools and technology, that landscape is constantly evolving. So the leverage in terms of technology which is available at the low cost in the market today is enormous. It is the ability to find the right platform or tools that your industry in your situation at any given point in time requires is the key to crack. I mean, if there were only one secret to have effective marketing or digital marketing, it is to be able to find the right technology, have the right strategy to use it, and then go to market with it with a focus on managing the customer engagement. And this problem has been solved a number of times by the companies which are successful in running a very effective marketing function. So we will go forward and talk about the funnel concept. Because of the way consumers work with us, work with businesses has changed, the funnel no longer holds true. The concept of having a wider mouth or a start of funnel filtering down to people who are really interested in buying a product or service from an organization doesn't work, because the customers now have ability to come in at any point in time. It is no longer they had developed an awareness that they require a certain thing. Then they gather knowledge about it. Then they do competitive analysis. Then they move forward in the funnel, so to speak, before they make a decision of buying. That has changed, because the awareness to action could be as short as a couple of minutes. The moment a customer gets hooked onto a particular social media post, it could be forever before that purchase or decision is made by the customer, or it could be as fast as a couple of minutes. And why is this? The stages of funnel, as we all track in our organization, are listed on the left-hand side. But as our point of view is, it is not effective to measure the sales funnel or marketing funnel is because the customers often jump stages. They stay in a particular stage indefinitely or move back and forth between them. They might not go into any of the stage and directly make a decision to buy a product, or they go through all the points of funnel and then, as a traditional way of moving towards loyalty and purchase, that could also happen. So does that mean that we look at a different model of tracking our teams? When I say our teams, as in our marketing and sales team, the way they align internally and then go to market with it. Does that mean Does that advocate that we have a separate model to track this? Well, the answer is yes and no. It is still the, if I were to put simply, then the funnel today tries to eat its own tail because it's a circular, it's not an either or. Do we use funnel or do we not use funnel? That is not the question to be answered. The question to be answered is, are we ready with the right platforms, technology and data points to measure our actions in a way where customer is non-linear? When customer engages with the organization in a manner that becomes difficult with the traditional tools to chart out his interest, chart out his next action, that's where we say that the tools and the funnel is not efficient anymore. What it warrants is the tools available in the market, the platforms available in the market inherently have the capability to do a lot of data matching, information crunching. The word of big data analytics is now so deeply embedded in most of the tools available in the market today that it gives us insights and knowledge which was earlier not possible by a human brain to physically correlate the events that have happened. So what message it tells us or sends into the wider industry at large is to be able to identify the level where an organization is currently operating and then match with the right platforms and strategy to move forward, to realize the benefit or business value, tangible value of the marketing spend. In summary, doing the marketing the same way we used to do 2 or 4 years back, with the same tool set, with the same people, and with the same responsibility and job description is not going to be effective. And the rule of fixing a defect at the earlier stage is less expensive than fixing a defect later in the time, later in the journey, applies here as well. Because marketing is the first function, the impact of not fixing or not having the right strategy, tools, people and org structure is exponential to the business performance. And there are numerous examples available in media as well as from some of the engagements we have done, and you would have interacted with your counterparts to realize the correctness of that. Moving forward is, while this is happening, what really is disrupting it? So we all have realized that it is being disrupted. The consumer, the products, the funnel, the internal structure, everything has changed. Or if it has not changed, it is time to change. And the very fact that we are talking about this and sharing insights and examples is the it is evident that it has happened and it is even going to be faster in coming few months and years. There are 3 key points which has made this whole digital transformation easier or amplified, so to speak. It is faster because of 3 things: convenience, connectedness, which is the IoT and being able to access information in a way which was not possible before, and customization. What I mean by customization is the customization in a way, and it is a polymorphism here. So customization can mean to the product and services you would want to purchase, but with a different configuration, but with a different timeliness, but with a different service level. All of these possibilities with host of options in a connected world and convenience of using a mobile device or a laptop or a store, all avenues open, has made this change much more prominent and faster. Talking about the tools and technology that I have been emphasizing over past few minutes is this landscape. I know it is not readable. It is not meant to be readable. However, if you read the key columns which are around the same modules of your marketing function or your are advertising, promotion, content management, customer experience, social media platforms and relationships, commerce, sales, data insights, big data analytics, and management. There are more than dozens of tools which have proven value amongst all such modules, uh, especially in the marketing. However, the focus so far for a chief marketing officer has not been so much on technology. It has always been seen as the guy who does advertisement or the person who is responsible for running campaigns. That is totally wrong. The person who is now deemed as the chief marketing officer has got multiple roles and multiple expectations to manage. And those are not so much gray as they used to be, because there is a clear indication that any and all activities done by marketing function has a direct impact on the P&L. The way some of the marketing automation and sales tools are built, they are built with a out-of-the-box separate KPIs to track how a marketing function is operating. Changing those tools is an option. However, we don't recommend some of the clients, because then we take away the very specificity of the new age marketing, new age digital marketing. It is very creative when it comes to content creation, but reaching out, identifying when, how, whom to reach, and what to manage is very much important. For example, it is no longer about decisions or transactions. It is more about engagement and relationship with the customer. I'll give an example. People who follow Nike Plus or people who are on TripAdvisor, how many of those are actually giving any revenue to Nike Plus or TripAdvisor? Less than 5%. The others engage with the platform, with the brand, and with so many inputs and data points. Then the question should be asked is, what's in it for TripAdvisor for people who are not even remotely related to becoming their customers anytime soon? What is the incentive for them, as in the organization, to have these people engage with the customer, with the brand, sorry, TripAdvisor? It is the relationship, it is the engagement. We have to think beyond a single transaction or a single decision of making the customer buy our product. If that is at the foundation of doing the marketing, it is a myopic vision. It is not going to fetch any long-term benefit such that it is scalable for any business objective which is set by the CEO. So where the CEO sets up a certain objectives but doesn't enable a marketing officer to have his strategy, his tools, and his org structure to be institutionalized, that is a problem to be solved. And this problem exists at various scales in organization. However, these solutions are often simple, just to provide a comfort on that aspect. Now, I will summarize the discussion we had so far, but before that I wanted to touch upon another element of the way marketing is perceived. For example, marketing is now going to become embedded into the products or services, or it has already become embedded into products and services. It is no longer a separate marketing function. The way digital products and services are sold, marketing is baked into it. Marketing is the product. So customer journey is not to be tracked. Customer journey is to be managed. To be managed with the way we have our content and product and services designed and delivered to the customer. So many times a prototype of your product becomes your marketing content. Now, you could argue that isn't that a still marketing effort? Well, yes and no, because the product which needs to be sold to a customer needs to be designed with marketing kept in mind is the message here. Because if a customer is able to interact with the product or service, and then the whole process of going through the funnel cut short to directly a decision, what better could an organization accept? And what that means is marketing people must have involvement into product strategy. While traditionally marketing people have always been interacting with the product strategy teams, it is a different setting in which the marketing person needs to be involved. Because if the effectiveness of marketing is to be measured against the revenue generated by the product, then the view from marketing department about how to sell this better or what are the traits it must have for selling it needs to be considered at very upfront. So we will have the new CMO role, what it looks like in a one-slider summary, but I thought this is important to know that marketing is no longer a function where some content is given and make an advertisement or a campaign or identify the segment. It is no longer that. Even if it is a small organization where the marketing team is just 1 or 2 people, in fact there it is even more important, because it becomes very easy where the manpower is so low to rely on tools. And these tools are not always expensive. There are open source tools. There are tools which doesn't require any setup or license fees. No capex, no opex. When you only see value in using those tools and you want to have some of the advanced feature use, that's where you make up your mind to buy them. Right. So these are the 6 key areas which are important today in the digital age. Co-creation and social. They are 2 terms together, usually hand in hand. Programmatic advertising, which is more towards having the insights from data. Machine learning. Slightly, if you look about the hype, it has created the artificial intelligence, the robotics and machine learning. It is still a few years away from being a commodity. For example, a mobile app is now a commodity. Having a mobile app is not a differentiator in the market. The same way, ability to have programmatic advertising and machine learning driving some of the marketing decisions after 5 years will no longer be a differentiator. It will be a must-have. If we are not present there, then we are not ready for competing in the new world. Blurring virtual and physical divide and omni-channel presence. Again, both hand in hand, and we have seen very interesting business models. And why marketing is important and marketing needs to know about physical and virtual omni-channel presence is because marketing drives that transition from physical to virtual or vice versa. And it is very important to have the right strategy for managing it for a particular industry and for a particular product service. We are not going to define them such that it becomes very boring and monolithic to understand what is co-creation, what are some of the features, functionality that we should have. But instead I thought it would be good to have certain examples where people have done this successfully and it becomes easy for us to relate to it. So the first example I am going to take is of Starbucks. Many of you would be aware of My Starbucks idea. My Starbucks idea started in 2009. In 2009, in US and Canada, Starbucks started an event where the customers can post their idea. It is not new today because there are many incubators and in different settings seek idea. But it is very important to see the kind of response it has received over the past 5 years. So more than 1,50,000 unique ideas submitted. The votes received, 2 million, is more than what the Chicago elections saw in terms of the cloud turnout. Now, many ideas have radically differentiated Starbucks from the competition. There were 272 ideas, it is not mentioned on this slide, but 272 things which Starbucks does today is actually understood and gathered from the customers. And it was a very simple platform to submit an idea, track it where it is, such that the customer doesn't feel overwhelmed that he is submitting an idea. So the free hotspots, so Wi-Fi hotspots, started, which is no cost, it doesn't ask for a username and password, and this was done in 2010 June. We still do not have that seamless experience at most Wi-Fi hotspots. However, having the right technology in place and doing this particular capability or value add onto their business model was not so much difficult for Starbucks. New flavors added, which at the highest number of sort of pull from the customer. Introducing a new flavor is one of the most difficult times and sort of nail-biting situation about the customer's reaction to it. But not in the case where customers are asking for it. And it has been proved again and again by Starbucks. And what this is the co-creation and social. No investment in terms of tools, licensing, or a team to manage this. It was very simple using social media, using crowdsourced content and prioritization by the company in terms of its alignment with business objectives. But it has seen tremendous value. I think most of you would have seen this if you follow news outside India. Target, which is a chain of supermarkets. In 2012, a father came to know about his daughter being pregnant after Target was aware of it. So Target became aware of the situation before the father knew, because Target was having all the data points to derive a pattern and to match it against a use case or a customer persona which has a very specific way for Target to engage with that guy or girl. So it was very easy for Target to map the customer's buying pattern, locations, time, and the kind of communication it would have had, all put together by one algorithm in the back of Target system, identified that particular customer as an expectant mother category, and all other campaigns and newsletters and emailers were all changed to that segment. It was very effective for Target to be positioned when a customer is into a particular segment. He or she doesn't have to look for other options. This is how Target managed the customer journey rather than tracking the customer journey. So where you are able to derive insights about your customer, and many of our telecom operators are doing it. The moment we are into a different state, the moment our internet data package is about to expire, the moment we are in Europe or some other country, it already knows that this person will have a specific need of some of these bolt-ons or add-ons. And it is so timely that you are thinking about making sure that you don't end up splurging money on telecom bills. That message at the right time with the right package of 200 rupees could save you 2,000 rupees. And this is at a very minimal scale. It has happened in multiple industries at multiple levels. That's the predictive analytics. The next market which is being disrupted is now Amazon Echo or Google or all big names in the digital world, they use machine learning. Now, the boundaries are blurred between predictive analytics of identifying your customers' segment and selling or making the right marketing communication to using machine learning. What machine learning does is it takes one step further where the rules or the matching patterns or the algorithms do not need to be manually managed. The machine itself is capable of identifying the pattern and then recommending what needs to happen. And this is being one of the most interesting points of next battlefield for the digital sort of experts or gurus in this world, which are Amazon, Apple, Google, and Microsoft. A very fantastic example of how physical and virtual stores can be put together in a way that customer buys it in a most optimum way. Imagine you are trying to do some search around buying, let's say, an earphone, right, which is very typical. You do a Google search, or a customer does a Google search around earphones, and obviously Google knows it that you are in this location, so it would have some advertisement which is relevant to you. However, when you walk into a store, if that store is aware of your buying expectation, and the moment you enter into the store, it knows that you have been searching about it, or you have been browsing options in that space, using some of the technology of beacons or the way it works is you start your journey online or you start a journey in store, but you end up in another channel. You end up making your decision in another channel, but you remain connected with the customer such that the customer doesn't feel to explore any other option. Is the power of putting both forefront, customer expectation from a store and customer's expectation from an online channel comes to play. So Adobe, what it did was, the moment you walk into a store, you can look at the product you like, you put it into a bag which is called a smart bag. Now that bag identifies that this is the product which has come in, and the app on customer's phone recognizes that already, and customer can make a payment at his convenience without standing up in a queue or whatever is the preferred payment method, and see a lot of content around that product, because most of the times what happens is we need a salesperson in store who needs to educate customer about the product, because it is not physically possible to have a booklet next to a product saying this is the special about this product. But that's where your phone comes in handy, and you can see the product which you have identified as one of the options. You can learn a lot about it. A model which is now being replicated in India is what Tesco started a couple of years back, a few years back. At the metro station, you would be able to sort of glance through all the SKUs, all product SKUs, and identify the ones that you want to buy. Using a QR code, you just scan those QR codes on that metro station or wherever that display is mounted. And then at your convenience, you place an order and the delivery will happen to the store or at your home. No inventory and no need to sort of keep searching for the right product. It is there, it is visually easy to see the product you want to buy. Fantastic way to cross-sell and upsell, because that's how the supermarkets were built, that when a customer walks in, even if he had a need to buy 5 things, he would end up buying 7 things. So this model doesn't lose that, and it amplifies the experience even further by making it convenient for them to make the purchase. And that's the omni-channel aspect. Having said all of it, the customer experience is still at the forefront, because that is the core of what is done by the marketing team. And personalization. Now there is a term that you hear is deep personalization. integrity of having a consistent communication from organization, understanding customers' expectations. If you put all of these to the technological potential of what is available in the market, there is a direct one-to-one mapping. If you were to meet the 6 pillars of customer experience for your organization, it is very easy to map them to the right tools which will enable you to do this. And there is no harm in starting a pilot. Do the pilot, see its impact, and then take the next decision. You course correct after seeing the market's reaction to your action. Time and effort. Removing unnecessary from the customer journey is the key idea of having digital products and services. The way they are built today is to make customers' efforts less in doing business with you. Right? Important that we understand the PMO role is changing. What is changing? Well, PMO or the CMOs will have now the ownership of P&L account. 53% of marketers now have the P&L responsibility. It cannot be just advertising or just managing the social platforms. 18% have plans to have a P&L for the chief marketing officers in near term. By the way, this doesn't come in separate. It comes with the ability and have the influence on some of the ways and activities marketing function would be led by the CMO. It cannot only be P&L ownership, but at the same time, it is one of the key things. And the focus area for the chief marketing officer is going to be driven by analytics and algorithm. There are no two thoughts, and it has been proven again and again that data-driven decisions on marketing have outperformed 23 times an organization which just makes campaigns without the data and algorithms and some way of justifying or backing the rationale behind that campaign. It has to be at the focus of it. Your delivery as in your execution, your implementation has to be technology enabled. Without the right tools and strategy, marketing function cannot be effective. It is not that the people or the team members are not capable of handling this. It is about the kind of information which is available out there in the market, and ability to crunch it in a most impactful way is humanly impossible. And that's where we need tools to support us. Those tools cannot act on their own. We need to have right skills and right job description to have people who knows those tools. And finally, cross-functional change catalyst. If something doesn't work, marketing function or the CMO is the glue. Marketing guy is the main person who needs to advocate what is required across functions within an organization. If not doing this, it might be seen as a charity work, but we have seen it multiple times where the marketing function takes a lead in correcting some of the silos the organization might have. And that is the best way to do change management. And there is a very, very profound role that marketing officer would need to play in this space. So I guess all of that being said, the key question still comes to how do we measure this? I mean, all this is correct, but is there a secret recipe to make sure that whatever technology, whatever new people, job description, strategy, how do I show value of it to my senior? How do we make sure? Is there a simple answer? Well, there has been debate around it. So rather than saying that there is a simple or there isn't a simple answer, look at this simple chart which is from Economist. What it says is it is complex and complicated because there is a term of ROMI, return on marketing investment. Well, there are views that return on marketing investment is not the right metric to measure. what it does at the very foundation is whatever revenue an organization is generating can be directly attributed to the investment made in the marketing function. It might have a different instantiation or a flavor which is based on an industry setup, but it has its pros and cons if that is the metrics which is chosen. So if the CMOs believe that customer engagement is the metric they should be measured against, the conflict comes in where other C-levels say, well, not so much. For us, it is more about the revenue and the customer satisfaction, which not necessarily provides the right measure of marketing functions effectiveness. So what this chart tells is the difference in opinion between the CEOs and CXO community against CMO, where CMO would say, I would actually expect that this 5 metric be measured and that defines my success or failure. But what if there is no agreement on those 5 measures in the first place, and which is a practical scenario? What are some of these metrics anyways? Traditionally, there have been market size, total addressable market, share, awareness, preferences. In the newer times, it is more about backlink, bounce rate, cost per mile, CPE, CTR, DMP, all these jargons, drop-off rate, what is people talking about this brand, like rate, exponential fan rate, follow rate, etc., etc. Are these really the right metric in the digital context to be measured? The answer is no. What is more meaningful to measure and identify whether the marketing function is effective or not is these 5 parameters, which is the customer acquisition cost, not just the customer acquisition cost, but the lifetime value, the CLV, what we call it, the ratio of customer lifetime value to CSE, which is the customer acquisition cost, time to payback CSE, marketing originated customer. So these are the people which have never existed as customer in the organization's books, but they have now come on board through some or the other marketing events, campaigns, analysis, or whatever that inbound, outbound, push-pull mechanism. And marketing influenced customers. And these are more practical measures to have. Now, how do we measure this? Again, we now know, so we are moving, if we roll back a few steps, when we started, we said what is important, what is being disrupted, how some of the existing things are not important, what are the new things important, what are the trends, what we should be doing, how we should be measuring, what should be my role. But then again, the final question comes up as to how do we measure these metrics? There are certain technology options available in the market. It is not that KPMG or I personally recommend that, but it is important to have some of these tools across various segments explored in the way your marketing measurements of effectiveness is planned. A more theoretical slide, but it is very important. How do we make sure that we follow the right path? So we define what success is, because it is different to everybody. One size doesn't fit all. That's why that very busy landscape of technology is important to go through and find the right one for your organization. Cross-channel, meaning integrate across channel, collect data as much as you can and try and make out a knowledge repository. It is no longer a data repository, it has to derive some knowledge out of it. You must have predictive models or statistical model about your customers. If you don't, you will lose that customer. Choose the tools that enable high-level analytics for real-time extraction. Timeliness is of utmost importance along with the insights or knowledge that you gather about your customers, segment or persona. Test the market and the model that you have been planning and then evolve it. So there are a few ways we can say how we go forward from there. I'm coming to the end of my content here, so we'll wrap it up, conscious of the time as well. How to deal with this changing landscape and the expectation from customer and from within requires a bit of thinking, a bit of planning and strategizing. Organizations which have directly jumped into doing just digital marketing for the heck of it without relating the two ends of how that marketing meets commerce have seen a lot of ups and downs, and more so in terms of challenges, because the roadmap can be clearly defined with the kind of experiences various organizations in your industry and across industry. That knowledge is enormous to have before you chart out your journey or identify the initiatives you want to take within the organization. So a few points that I leave the audience with is understand the consumer needs. It is not the traditional way of understanding consumer needs, because then you will say it's the product or service that needs to understand the consumer. No, this is your consumers need to engage with us. It is the experience or the relationship that the customer will appreciate over just a transactional buying. Rethink your brand's offering in the digital age. This comes back to the same point of having marketing embedded into your products. Think about the platforms not advertising. Think about the cost of not doing anything of this. Reach out to the consumers more effectively, proactively, because not doing anything is not an option. And like we discussed, test, learn, and adapt on the model that you have identified. So these are some of the points that I wanted to sort of share with you from the experiences. We work with a number of industries and a number of functions when it comes to putting down the right strategy to enhance your e-commerce experience. And what I mean by that is the benefit or tangible business realization. So I would give the mic back to Soumika and request you to then have this open for questions and answers. Thank you.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful and informative session. So now to the participants, if you have any questions that you want Mr. Jayabhuva to answer, kindly type it on the panel on your screen, and we will read that out for him. To the participants, kindly, if you have any questions, please type it on your panel, and we will read out to Mr. Jayabhuva to answer them.